What's up everybody, Zach here with Quilting. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make our Dahlia quilt. Let's get started. But before we get started, I'm actually going to take you in an in-depth dive of the block itself, just because it's a little bit tricky, and then from there, we'll actually get started. So we have our block here, and what I want to show you is kind of the construction of it. You've got our center square. Right here we have a flying goose, and then here we have another flying goose, and these two, they're mirror images of each other. Fabric here and the fabric here are flip-flop between the two blocks, and when you do that and you put them together, you get this big chevron right here. Got that going on all four quadrants, and then our side blocks, or our corner blocks, these two here are the same, just a simple two strips together here. We have two little squares and a strip here, and then this one we've got a big square that we just snowballed the corners right here. You put that all together, and that's the Dahlia block, which then you put the blocks together, you get the quilt. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is there a Tyrannosaurus right here on our quilt? The reason for that is because we have a applique subscription club. We have three of them actually. We have a Critter Club, which is what this guy is from. We have a Binding Pals Club, and we have a Floral Club. There's some fun little add-ons to your quilts. The subscriptions themselves are awesome, and links for them are down in the description below. That being said, now that we've talked about the elephant, or rather the Tyrannosaurus in the room, let's get into the quilt. As you can see, we've got the same pattern going on, but it is an asymmetric pattern, which creates something a little bit unusual. We have kind of a mini quilt in each of the four quadrants on it, with the Dahlia pattern being linked together to make this overall deal we got going on right here, which is kind of cool. Honestly, I'm gonna just lay it all out for you. Honestly, this one is not my favorite. Reason being is we've got the red and the whites and the reddish pinks. I would like to see, personally, this is personal preference, just a little more contrast. So I would have gone with, instead of this here, I would have gone with either more of a solid or a lighter color, and this one, and then these here, a little bit darker. These ones really pop and stand out. This one I feel like it's a little bit muddled. One of the great things about quilting is you can truly make it your own. You might love red, white, and pink. Might be your color palette, might be your style. We just had a line on one of our live sells that was a space Christmas line that had Santa flying a spaceship with reindeer with astronaut helmets on. It was unique. There were also roosters and holly, cats and dogs. I don't know how any of it went together. It was a really cool line though. Whatever your taste may be, you can transfer that into a quilt. There you go, that's kind of the overall of Dahlia. With that, we're gonna get into the actual construction of the block itself. To start off with this block, we are going to be cutting out some squares that are 5 1/4 inches square. Then, we're gonna cut out some smaller squares that are 2 7/8 inches square. Odd measurements, I know. The reason for that is that we're going to be cutting this down into some flying geese. In order to get your finished block to come out the size you want, your initial pieces have to be cut on some kind of odd sizes. That being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my big square, I'm going to take my little square, I'm going to put them right sides together. I'm going to put two little squares kitty corner to each other. I'm going to mark a line diagonally, corner to corner, going across, and because I have a So Yeah No Slip ruler, that is not non-slip, that is no slip. We can just hold it down, hold all those pieces down, careful my edge, and give us a nice little line going down both of them. Then from there, we're just gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of the line we just drew on there. And with that sewn, we're now going to cut this thing in half on the line we initially drew on there. And then we're going to press these open. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably looking at what you have just cut out and thinking something went wrong. But it hasn't. This, as you'll see in 1 second, is actually a really cool way to cut out your flying geese. We've got our pieces here. Don't know how to... There. We'll just leave them like that. Now for the next step, we're going to take another one of those 2 7/8 inch squares right there, and you're going to put it onto your big piece of fabric. You're going to mark that little square corner to corner, and you're going to do the exact same thing that you just did. So 1/4 inch seam on both sides of that line. Just like that. And now we're going to cut along that line that we initially drew. Slice, and we'll press these open to get our flying geese. And there we go, we've got our flying geese. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, this block has a double flying geese pattern on it. And so now that we have made, now that we have made this one here, we need to do the exact same process to make another flying goose, but with the colors reversed to make the point. So I will show you that real quick, and then we'll move on to the rest of the block construction. And there you go. Now with our two different geese, we can put these together, and that'll give us that nice, beautiful chevron right there. So now we'll just sew these together. Now we'll set our chevrons aside and move on to the next block. For our next block, we're gonna be cutting two pieces that are 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. Just simple rectangles, boom. One of each of the fabrics that we just used for our previous chevron block. No tricks or anything fancy here. We're just going to put them right sides together and sew that seam. And just like that, this block is done. So now we'll move on to the final one. For our final block, we're going to be cutting two squares that are 2.5 inches square, and then a rectangle that is 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. Very simple. We're going to put them right sides together. We're gonna take these, sew them together, press them open, and then we're gonna sew those two squares onto this to make our block. Now we're gonna sew these two pieces together. It does not matter which way you sew this on because it's 3/4 the same fabric anyways. Now with that done, it's time to start assembling our final block.
Oh no, we have the snowball.
You're right. Now that this one's done, we're gonna move on to our final corner piece before we can assemble our block. Whatever, Ian. For our final corner, we're going to take a 4.5 inch square and two 2.5 inch squares, and kind of similar to what we did initially, but also kind of different. We're gonna lay our 2.5 inch squares kitty corner to each other, but instead of marking our line from one to the other, we're actually just marking just the individual squares themselves, and then we will mark our other one, just like that. Now for this one, we're gonna be sewing directly on those two lines that we just drew. Now we will trim off the excess. We'll give ourselves a 1/4 inch seam allowance, just like that. And then we'll press it open. Sorry everybody, we now interrupt our normally scheduled program to bring you a special announcement by Carter. Carter is here with a cart to get some of the packages that Granny was packing the other night and stored underneath our desk.
Had to go somewhere.
Now to assemble our block. Right here I do have a 4.5 inch square, which I didn't show you the process of making because it's a 4.5 inch square. That's our center. Look at the rest of our pieces and start laying them out. Our chevrons go on both sides and on our top and bottom. Then we've got this block here is going to go in one corner, just like that. Then for this block here, we're gonna put this one like this and this one like that. Both of these yellow pieces in this case are facing in towards the final corner, just to help you kind of orient things. And then our piece here with our snowballed edges, we put right here in the corner, and then we get our pretty much continuous path around there to make our Dahlia. Now before we assemble this, I just want to pause and say, if you're enjoying this content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, all the stuff that you hear every single time. The reason we always kind of go into this is because it really does help. When you say you like this, YouTube will then push this content to more people who like similar things. People looking for quilting videos, tutorials, and a little bit of creative inspiration. So if you can, please like, subscribe, share with a friend. It will really help. That being said, back to the tutorial. Now what we're gonna do, pretty straightforward. I'm gonna break this up into rows, then we're gonna sew each of our rows, and then sew them all together. Hey, looks pretty good. And here you go. Our actual block itself is finished. Now, to assemble this into the Dahlia pattern, you're gonna take that block, you're gonna make 4 of these, as you can see right here. Boom, 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 boom. And that's gonna make 1/4 of the quilt. You're gonna do that for this one and this one, being the same color, and then your alternating colors on your opposite corners. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, I already went through the message: like, subscribe, share, you know the drill. The pattern for this is free down in the description below. You'll click on the link, it'll send you over to our website where we have an archive of all of our patterns. They are all free. If you're looking for some additional inspiration, please check out some of these over here. My name is Zach, teaching how to select a pro, and this is So Yeah Quilting.